Hello, everybody. Today, I am going to be talking about why doing shadow work in autumn is not optional. And so the reason that I say that is because, what happens in autumn is that in autumn, like with trees, for example, well, the leaves change color and then the leaves fall off and then everything is a little bit more bare and a little bit more naked. And what I've learned in my life by getting absolutely pummeled by my shadow every autumn for many years in a row is that humans follow the exact same process as trees. Right? In spring and in summer, we were in full bloom. We had so much energy, so much zest, so much drive. But then in autumn, as the season shifts, as the days get shorter, and as our metaphorical leaves fall off, we are a little bit more bare. We are a little bit more naked. And what I found for me, and what I've also found in just talking to many other people, is that there's less of a barrier between the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. And so autumn and winter too is a time for you to be more intimate with yourself and actually sit with things that you may be avoiding, with things that you might have habitually repressed into the dungeons of your psyche. And so to explain a little bit about shadow here, for those who don't know, shadow refers to anything about us that is blind or unknown to us. And this is, often referring to the things that we've shoved into our unconscious mind because we deem them as too difficult, too uncomfortable to deal with or face. Parts of ourselves that we might label as weak or as vulnerable or as wrong or as bad or as unacceptable, we repress and suppress these into our unconscious mind. Yet when we do this, and we do this habitually through our patterns of avoidance, when we distract ourselves, when there's something that we don't want to face and we go and do something else because we don't want to face it, that's us suppressing or repressing this part of ourselves. And so what shadow work is about getting in touch with what we've repressed in ourselves and actually integrating it back into our unconscious mind. And we all have a shadow. Every single person on earth has a shadow. But what most people don't realize is how deeply and how profoundly this shadow governs your life. If you find yourself getting strangely triggered by things that probably shouldn't trigger you so much, something in your shadow is the cause for that. In my life, in a shadow that I've had in the past, and this still comes out sometimes, is that in my past, when I would see people in their full power, taking up space, being big and shining their authentic light, I would get really triggered for some reason. And I would, start my mind would start saying these things about them and being they're taking up so much space, all these other people have voices to speak to, they're being so blind and taking up all this space. But what I realized in myself was that this trigger and what I was projecting onto people who were in their full power, who were in their full authentic light, is that I was projecting my own disowned need for power onto these people. And so what I had to do to clean up my shadow was actually own that desire within myself to be in my own power, to take up the space that I meant to take up and to shine my authentic light. So that's been a shadow that I've had to integrate. But we all have so many different shadows, and I guarantee that they are at play in your world, and they are closing down your true light, your true passion, your true zest for life from shining through. Because, that's what life is all about. We want to be our authentic self. We want to express the energy of our being as it's meant to be expressed. And when we got all this material hanging out in our unconscious mind, it's very difficult to do that. In fact, it's impossible to do that without cleaning up your shadow. And so shadow work is about cleaning up. It's called cleaning up our repressed material and reintegrating it into the psyche. And so This is especially important in autumn, like I've said, because there is less of a barrier between our conscious mind and our unconscious mind. And the further you are away from the equator, and also probably the more you resonate with the term highly sensitive person, the more relevant this advice becomes. But essentially, really what I'm doing with this video is I want to call you into a deeper way of being this season, in autumn and in winter too. In that I feel in this season, you got to move a little bit different. You got to move a little bit more intuitively, perhaps a little bit more slowly. And you have to bring awareness to your patterns of avoidance. You have to bring awareness to the truths that and the parts of yourself that you have been avoiding. Because it is in autumn that you can no longer avoid those parts of yourself. So I want to speak a little bit about how I've been absolutely pummeled by my unconscious mind for many years in a row, because in autumn, because there were parts of myself that I was avoiding. So a couple years ago, maybe this was 2 or 3 years ago, I had a really, really big shadow just hit me and like leave me bedridden for like 2 days because it was so difficult. And I realized the way I was being in the world was so inauthentic, and I couldn't be the same way anymore. So basically what I realized I had neglected and what I realized I had disowned was this desire to be seen and understood for who I really am. And there was a part of me that was very afraid to do that, to be seen and to be understood fully. And what I realized in this was that so many of my relationships, much of my friendships, and also the romantic relationship I was in at the time, largely was formed from this false self that I was portraying and that I was being in the world and in these relationships. And I knew things just could not be the same anymore. It was causing me so much pain to be inauthentic, and it was causing me so much pain to not portray myself in a way that was fully authentic, that did allow these deeper parts of me to get seen by people. I realized I just couldn't live hiding that anymore. And so I realized in realizing that a lot of my relationships were born from this false self, that things had to change. You know, I would change and a lot of these relationships would fall away. I realized the romantic relationship I was in at the time, it was inauthentic and no longer aligned. And so I had to let go of that, and that was very difficult. And also from that, a lot of friendships fell away as well. And so it was kind of like a death during that autumn. It happened very close to the winter solstice. It was like deep into autumn. And that was sort of like a death. And then I had to be reborn in a new, authentic way. So that was just like one example of autumn absolutely pummeling me. That similar shadow kind of happened a few autumns in a row. And maybe it'll come up again this autumn in a different way. But I have a feeling something else is going to happen this autumn. But I'm very aware of this pattern now. It's happened every year for many years in a row. And, you know, I've talked to people I'm friends with. This happens to them too. In that, yeah, in autumn, our leaves fall off and we're more bare, we're more naked, we're more vulnerable. And we got to move different during that time. We got to have a deeper intimacy with ourselves during that time. We got to give a voice, and we got to shine the light of awareness on these more vulnerable parts of ourselves. And so maybe some of the work involves realizing what you get triggered by and realize what you might be projecting onto other people. And a lot of times with projections, well, pretty much what projections is usually a disowned need in yourself. Like I had with that example earlier, I projected onto people my own disowned desire for power and to take up space in the way that I was meant to take up space. And so I had to own that desire to get rid of that projection and clean up that shadow. But there's other shadow work stuff that involves actually contacting much more younger, much more vulnerable parts of yourself. This is like kind of like internal family systems type stuff where you might actually have to contact that inner child that's been exiled into the dungeons of your psyche for years. And you might actually have to have a dialogue with that inner child and speak to the inner child and say, I'm here for you. I'm here to give you the love that you didn't have when you were younger. And I'm just here for you. And you reintegrate that part of you back into the psyche. And so if it's like some inner child part of you that just wants to play and be free, you know, you got to give that inner child a place in your life, and you got to find time for play and to let that inner child out. And that's like the reintegration part. But then, there's other shadow work stuff where you might just like be operating under like a belief that you accumulated from the world, maybe from your parents or your culture, that it's just like hanging out here in your psyche and you just like don't even realize it. Like you might just like believe like you're just like a weak person or something like that, and like you don't even like realize that, and you kind of have to slowly, through dissecting your experience, realize you have this belief and just release that into the fucking void. So this is just kind of a video to get you started into, like, really all this video is like I'm just calling you into a deeper way of being this season, to move a little bit different, to get in touch with the truth of your being, the parts that you may be avoiding. Yeah, that's what I'm calling you into. And I'm going to have future content that goes into specific tools, specific techniques. I'll have some long form stuff as well as some practical short form stuff. And I'm also thinking of actually starting a community during this autumn and winter season as well. Probably just for this autumn and winter season, maybe for like a few months, 3 or 4 months, but just like for us to like come and gather and talk about shadow work, just talk about life and just kind of hang out. And yeah, if you're interested in that, just give a comment and I might open that community. I'm feeling that I do want to open it, so if people are interested in it, just please let me know. And yeah, that's really all I want to say here in this video, guys. Go hang out in nature. This is why I'm out here. I came out here to Olympic National Park because I knew the autumnal equinox was coming. It's a couple days past the autumnal equinox now, but I went into the forest and I did a little ritual. The ritual was me doing mushrooms, basically. It was a mushroom ceremony. And yeah, this ritual, it got me into a new way of being. Like, I really feel like I'm just in the new way of being now. I've been out here for a few days and I've just been like living very intuitively. I've been doing literally whatever the fuck I feel like doing. I have no plan, no agenda other than to just be with myself and be with my authentic desires, and to meditate a little bit, do some like internal family systems meditation style stuff, and to just like sit with these parts of myself and see what they want to do, and just see what's there, and to just be. So that's what I've been out here doing for the past 4 days, and I'm gonna be going home back to Seattle later today. But yeah, I would recommend getting in nature if you can. It's very nourishing, very healing, and it's gotten me in touch. It's like allowed me to step into this new way of being that I know I need to be in during this autumn season. So anyways, guys, hope this video was helpful. Yeah, that's really all I want to say, guys. Have a great day and peace.